and welcome to our daily news roundup here on Atlantic TV. I am Ikechi Tejere. Here are our top stories. NCDC blames transport costs as Lassa deaths hit 70. ADC threatens court action over Enugu's 150 million naira campaign fee. Federal government seeks $5.7 billion investment deal with China. Alleged genocide. U.S. lawmakers submit Nigeria report to Trump. Cricket. NCF fixes date for 2026 Women's T20I. Now to the news in full. The death toll from the ongoing Lassa fever outbreak in Nigeria has risen to 70 in less than 2 months. The Director General of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Dr. Jide Idris, says delays in detection and response in some states are due to high specimen transportation costs, weak data validation systems, and poor internet connectivity. Speaking to reporters, Idris explained that transporting samples from remote communities to state laboratories remains expensive, particularly in hard-to-reach areas. He said rising fuel and transport costs are affecting turnaround times. He also raised concerns about inconsistencies in reporting, revealing that some teaching hospitals confirmed cases without notifying state authorities, creating surveillance gaps. The NCDC says it monitors states using the 717 benchmark, detecting cases within 7 days, reporting within 1 day, and initiating response within 7 days. But performance varies across the country. Meanwhile, medical associations have called for increased supply of protective equipment following the death of a doctor and infection of 15 health workers. Lassa fever, a viral hemorrhagic disease transmitted through contact with food contaminated by rodents, remains endemic in Nigeria. Health experts continue to blame persistent fatalities on late hospital visits, inadequate treatment centers, poor sanitation, and weak surveillance systems. Dr. Idris is urging state governments to strengthen coordination, improve data reporting, and prioritize contact tracing to contain the outbreak. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has approved the cancellation of 485 land documents in Abuja over failed authenticity checks. The affected titles were nullified after a review by the Department of Land Administration and the Abuja Geographic Information Systems, which confirmed that several documents were forged or failed verification. In a public notice, the FCT administration said the cancelled applications covering multiple areas, area councils, and layouts have been removed from the regularization database. Officials say the move is part of ongoing land reforms to address forged documents, double allocations, and irregular land grants. Authorities also note that land in the FCT is vested in the federal government, and all valid titles must be processed through the Minister's office and formalized by AGIS. The administration says thousands of other land documents are still undergoing verification. The African Democratic Congress says it will challenge the Enugu state government in court over a mandatory 150 million naira advertising permits fee for political campaigns. The fee, announced by the Enugu State Signage and Advertisement Agency, requires political parties and candidates to pay before deploying campaign materials, branding vehicles, or erecting billboards for the 2026 and 2027 elections. The agency says the levy is aimed at regulating outdoor advertising, preventing visual pollution, and applying standards uniformly to all parties. However, the ADC describes the fee as anti-democratic and an attempt to stifle opposition, insisting it will pursue legal action to stop the directive. A group of youths from Kogi State has raised 100 million naira to purchase the presidential nomination form for President Bola Tinubu ahead of the 2027 general elections. The donation was presented as a dummy check to the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Professor Nentawe Yilwatda by Kogi State Governor Ahmed Ododo in Abuja. Party leaders say the move demonstrates support for Tinubu's leadership, economic reforms, and efforts to address insecurity, although the president has not officially declared his re-election bid. Yilwatda describes the gesture as historic, saying the funds have already been paid into the party's account and that it reflects strong youth backing for the president and the APC. Governor Ododo praised Tinubu's leadership, saying the administration has created opportunities for young people and strengthened governance participation. The federal government says it is in talks to secure up to $5.7 billion in strategic investments from China to support key sectors of the economy. The Minister of Finance says discussions held in Abuja involved a delegation from GCL Group as part of efforts to attract funding for power generation, mining, and industrial manufacturing. Officials say the proposed investment will focus on expanding energy capacity, boosting local mineral processing, and establishing new factories to create jobs and increase exports. The government describes the move as part of broader economic reforms aimed at shifting Nigeria from raw material exports to domestic production and strengthening industrial growth. The Association of Power Generation Companies says it rejects claims that 2.8 trillion naira represents a final and verified settlement of debts owed to electricity generation firms. The group, through its chief executive officer Joy Ogaji, says the figure did not emerge from any officially concluded reconciliation process and has challenged government sources to publish their audit findings. The reaction follows reports that the presidency approved payment of 2.8 trillion naira as verified liability for legacy electricity debts after rejecting a higher claim submitted by operators. The Association of Power Generation Companies said arise from contractual obligations under bilateral agreements based on power generated, dispatched, and invoiced through established market rules. It argues that any reconciliation must be transparent and in line with agreed procedures, warning that altering figures outside the framework could undermine investor confidence in the power sector. The power firms say previous reconciliation exercises had led to an approved commitment of 4 trillion naira and insist further discussions must follow due process. You're watching our daily news roundup here on Atlantic TV. We'll go on a short break. When we return, more news stories on the foreign scene and on sports. To stay tuned.
Don't miss out on exciting news, events, and more. Stay connected by following us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Atlantic Media and TV.
Welcome back. On to the foreign scene. The United States House Committees on Appropriations and Foreign Affairs have submitted a report to the White House detailing findings and recommendations on alleged persecution of Christians and security challenges in Nigeria. The report follows President Donald Trump's redesignation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern and his directive for lawmakers to investigate claims of religious persecution and extremist violence. According to Congressman Riley Moore, who confirmed the submission, the findings are based on fact-finding visits to Nigeria, hearings with experts, consultations with religious leaders, and meetings with government officials and displaced persons. The recommendations include proposals for a bilateral U.S.-Nigeria security agreement, potential sanctions and visa restrictions against individuals linked to violence, and conditions tied to U.S. funding pending government action. Lawmakers say the report aims to strengthen accountability, address extremist threats, and improve security cooperation between both nations. U.S. President Donald Trump has pushed back against media reports claiming that a top military official warned him about the risks of attacking Iran. Reports had said General Dan Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, cautioned that any military action against Iran could lead to prolonged conflict, potential U.S. casualties, and challenges linked to limited munitions stockpiles. The report also claimed concerns were raised about stretched U.S. defense resources due to support for allies such as Israel and Ukraine, and that key military officials were not consistently involved in recent discussions on Iran strategy. Responding on social media, Trump dismissed the reports as fake news, insisting the general believes a war with Iran could be easily won. The U.S. military has not publicly confirmed the details of the reported discussions, but officials say military leaders are tasked with providing policymakers with a range of options and risk assessments on national security matters. Away from the foreign scene now to sports news, the Nigeria Cricket Federation has announced the return of the Women's T20 International Invitational Tournament, scheduled to hold in Lagos from the 18th of March to the 29th of March. The competition will feature Nigeria's female Yellow Greens alongside Ghana, Sierra Leone, Rwanda, and the South Africa Under-19 women's team at the Tafawa Balewa Cricket Oval. The Nigeria Cricket Federation says the expanded tournament will serve as a high-performance platform to prepare players for major international competitions. Meanwhile, the Federation is also preparing for the 7th edition of the National Under-17 Championship, with zonal qualifiers set to begin across Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones. Officials say the Youth Championship remains the key pathway for discovering and developing young cricket talent in the country. Benjamin Sesko came off the bench to score the only goal as Manchester United beats Everton 1-0 to move into the Premier League's top 4. The striker, who has found form under interim manager Michael Carrick, struck 19 minutes from time to secure the victory and extend United's unbeaten run under the new boss. The win lifts United 3 points clear in the race for Champions League qualification, with only the top 5 expected to secure places next season. Everton, meanwhile, have now gone seven home games without a win as they continue to struggle at their new stadium. United defended late pressure from the host to secure 3 clean sheets in 6 matches under Carrick and strengthen their push for European football next season. And with that, sports news, we come to the end of our daily news roundup for today here on Atlantic TV. Do follow us on all our social media platforms for more news stories and headline updates. Thank you so much for watching. I am Nkechi Tejere. Have a pleasant day.